Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Brim Fishing Project. In this episode, we are headed to the central coast of New South Wales to the Action Fishing Tournaments Kayak Series, which was held on Woy Woy on the 14th of April in 2024. Now, it's a pretty good episode because there's a really special winner right at the end. Anyway, I'm going to roll the intros. I'm going to leave that alone. Roll the intros, and then we'll get straight into it. Here we go.
Welcome to the Brim Fishing Project. This is where you need to be every Tuesday to find out all the latest tips and tricks to help you target brim on lures. You'll get to hear from some of Australia's elite brim competition anglers and see how they were able to achieve their results in competitions around the country. Now, here's your host, the 2019 Hobie Kayak Fishing World Champion, Andrew Deeth.
All right. It's a great little episode, this one. We've got Action Fishing Tournaments, which is a new tournament that's popped up around Sydney. For anyone that's looking to get into tournaments, it's a good way to start. It's a catch photo release. So you don't need a live well. You don't need a Hobie. You just need a kayak and be able to get out in the water. Kayak and a charge phone and a brag mat and a couple of rods and off you toddle. Anyway, great way to get into the competition. Now, we've had, I think, 4 events this year, but this particular one was the one that was held back in Woy Woy. The nice thing about this is we had the Hobie comp a couple of weeks later, and you were able to, if you wished, to use this competition as part of your pre-fish. So you could go up there, maybe fish the whole weekend, maybe just fish the Sunday, get a little bit of insight into what was going to be happening 2 weeks later. And that's exactly what I did, and it worked out pretty nicely. Anyway, I'm just going to keep this episode short and sweet. So let's get into the tides and what have you and give you some of the stats. So there's a low fish activity this day, just 28 in the fish activity wheel. We had a minor bite period at 11:19 through to 12:49. So that was the only one during the day. The tides were a 7:49 low at 0.2, running up to a high tide at 12:33 at 1.14. Now, anyone that's fished that part of the systems knows that the tides are just a little bit backwards there and, well, certainly a couple of hours behind. So in any case, that's what they were recorded as. All right, so we're just going to jump straight into the angler interviews. One thing I would say, if you haven't worked it out, I had a pretty decent result in this one. We got a special guest interviewer in the back end of the show, and it's not very often you go to fish a comp, you pull out a new lure and catch some really decent fish. So I hope you enjoy it. Well, let's get into the angler interviews. Here we go. Okay, so first up in third place, dropping 3 fish. So the first fish was 37.5 centimeters. Second was 25.5, and the third was 36.5, giving it my total of 99.57. I have Corey Lean. Welcome back, mate.
Yeah, good day, Deethy. Thanks for having me again.
No worries, mate. We had a nice chat last year at the Camden Haven round, so I'm sure you're pretty excited to qualify for the AC up there for the Hobie series.
Yeah, I've been trying pretty hard this year, mate. It hasn't quite happened for me yet, but yeah, certainly putting in the yards, putting in the miles, and yeah, hopefully by the end of it, we'll have enough AOY points to get back up to Camden Haven.
Oh, mate, there's a couple more rounds, mate. You might not need the AOY points.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed, yeah. Well, last year my confidence round I thought was going to be the Georges River, and that was by far my worst. So, yeah, it can never be too confident, but yeah. AOY is what I'm leaning on.
Very good. Very good. All right, mate, let's get into this one. So this was the Action Fishing Tournaments, and we had the one-day event up at Woy Woy. So, mate, for the pre-fish, did you get a chance to get out and try and catch a couple before comp day?
Yeah, I drove up Saturday and got there a little bit earlier than what I thought I was going to. So went out, would have been only for about an hour and a half on the Saturday afternoon. There was high tide. Tide was completely wrong, but I thought I'll go around and have a look at the racks there just behind Pelican Island. So, yeah, went around there and, yeah, found a few fish, but certainly didn't set the world on fire. But, yeah, it was very different to what the comp was going to be in terms of the tide and all that. But, yeah, got a few.
And did you come across any lures that were working in particular? Did you set yourself up for comp day?
Yeah, so, like I said, high tide, and there wasn't that much debris in the water on the Saturday, which I found out on the Sunday was fairly different. But, yeah, it was just using shallow cranks along the racks there and, yeah, pulled out, I think it was like 3 or 4 fish. sort of within that hour that I was there, and thought that was going to be the plan for Sunday.
Right. All right. Let's roll around to comp day. So the Sunday morning, it gives a bit of an idea about how your day went, how you went about catching fish.
Yeah. So initially, when we were paddling out together, I actually made mention to you that my intention was to start off in the racks and then progress a little bit deeper during the day. Yeah, so straight away left the launch, went around to the back of Pelican Island into the racks there, and straight away I noticed that it was different to the day before in terms of the amount of weed and debris that was floating through the water. Yeah, it was pretty much impossible for me to even throw a crank at that point. So I went over to plastics, and I don't know, it would have been probably within half an hour, I suppose. I got my first bite, and that was the biggest fish of the day. Actually, it would come pretty early on, and that was just throwing a grub tail soft plastic around on a 1/12. Actually, no, that was a lighter one, so about a 1/24th, I think that was, and I think I was 37.5, and kept progressing up and down the racks. I could see on the active target, the Garmin Panoptics actually on the kayak, that there wasn't a huge number of fish amongst the racks like we've seen previously, but persisted anyway. And I think it was about an hour later, got the second fish, which was actually the second biggest fish of the day for me. And then, went pretty slow after that and had to start moving around a bit. So, ended up progressing to basically the drop-offs of Pelican Island, and just made my way up and around towards the Woy Woy Bridge and fishing the drop-offs. So anywhere from sort of 1.5 meters down to 4 and 5 meters at times, just fishing aquas and grubs. So by the end of the day, I think I had probably, I don't know, it was about 10 fish, I think. But like, as you just read at the start, the lengths were, there was, my third fish was only 24.5 centimeters. So just couldn't find that third fish that I needed to sort of keep me up there. But a lot of small ones. So if it was a Hobie comp, I would have only had 2 in the well.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, I did, because we were fishing the same comp, I did see you catch your first fish, and I saw it was a decent fish, and I was relatively early, so I was a bit jealous. But those racks were quite difficult to fish in terms of the weed and what have you, which was floating, as well as they must have had some water down there, and the racks are all pushed all over the place. Like, it was quite challenging, I thought.
Yeah, they were definitely different to what they were the year prior at the Hobie around there. Like you said, they've obviously had debris through them, and they're all mangled up and moved. And I actually went back in there again at the Hobie round a couple of weeks later, and they were completely different again. So they've obviously had a fair bit of debris and whatnot washed from upstream. So
and so basically you fish the grub initially and then through to the aqua. Did you get any on the aqua?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, but like I said, only quite small. But they were just throwing it up, trying to get, sitting in the deeper water, throwing it up into the racks and then pulling it down off that edge. And it's sort of nothing, I think, was coming in under 1.5 meters of water depth. So aqua probably wasn't ideal in terms of how slow they sink, but that's mainly why I persisted with the grubs more than anything.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know on the day I found it was a challenging day to fish, and I thought I was going to fish racks, and then as people find out in the back end of this show, that wasn't how I got my fish.
Yeah, well, like I said, when we're pedaling out, I planned racks early and then go deep, and I didn't stay true to my word and didn't go deep, and maybe that was my undoing.
Yeah, well, mate, it's hard to know. It's hard to know. I'm not sure whether they switched on out in the deep or not, but they were definitely out there later.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, in terms of if you had to fish that day again, what would you do? Would you go and do the same thing, or would you head to the deep, or you got any thoughts on that?
Well, it is actually funny because when I went there that weekend, I'd planned to go out the front. I had no intentions of playing around racks or any of that. My intention was to go to the Rip Bridge and beyond, basically. And it wasn't until that Sunday morning that I realised that they'd created a bit of a boundary and we weren't allowed within 300 metres, I think it was, of the Rip Bridge. So, my plan was out the window a little bit, but, ultimately I would have liked to have been down there. I think it would have produced, given all the rain that we'd had. I thought, I'll go and try and find some fresher water and just some basically cleaner water. And so I guess, other than that, obviously I'd say deep was, hindsight's a good thing, isn't it? But you did all right in the deep, so maybe I would have gone there.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's, like we said, good, really good in hindsight. So in looking at the results, it looks like Jordan Dang has come in with the same measurements, and you must have got him on countback. Your big fish was the same, so your length was the same. Big fish was the same, but your second biggest fish was bigger than his second biggest fish.
Yeah, I feel a little bit bad for him, but he certainly. I think he got a really late upgrade. That his biggest fish of the day come really late. So yeah, kudos to him. But he had a cracking day at the Hobie as well, so he learned something.
I was going to say, I think on day 2 he might have got Monster Mover. Maybe I'll have to have a look.
Yeah, he did, mate. Yeah, he did really well.
Yeah. So there you go. Good on you, Jordan. All right, mate. I reckon. Actually, one more thing before we move off. What sort of lines and leaders did you choose for the racks?
I was fishing. I actually had a couple of setups, but the main one that had the grub on it was a Miller Rods Bass Freak, which is normally a rod that I throw obviously for bass, but given I was going to the racks, I had 12-pound leader on that. Anything that basically took it, I could just scull drag them straight out. So really good for that sort of structure. But yeah, normally I'm throwing Samurai Infinites. Yeah, just love the finesse of those rods and whatnot. And that's what I had the Aqua tied to.
Okay. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. So reasonably heavy, like 12-pound. You're giving yourself a good chance of pulling them out.
Oh, 100%, mate. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, the water wasn't clear. I don't think it would have mattered what leader size you went that day. If they were there, you were gonna get the bite. But yeah, it certainly helped getting them out.
Very good, mate. Very good. All right. Well, that was all enough to bring you in third place. So, what did you get to take home for third place? Do you remember?
I think it was $250 in cash from memory.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That's a pretty good result. All right. So, for those of you out there that don't know, so Corey is the owner and operator of Podium Marine Wraps, who's just come on board as a sponsor and also sponsors the AFT. So, mate, do you want to tell us a bit about what you do in terms of wraps, in terms of what you're wrapping and what sort of service you can provide?
Yeah, no problem. So, yeah, like you said, Podium Marine Wraps been specialising. Well, I've been in the signage industry for 20 years now, and around when COVID hit, basically wanted a bit of a niche within the trade and aligning my passion with boating and fishing to my work, I decided that wrapping boats was where I was going to go. So, yeah, been doing that for a few years now, done well over 350 odd boats, and that ranges anywhere from, of course, the kayaks that we do a lot of the ones around the kayak scene, through to, your everyday runabouts, your tournament bass boats, of course, and right up to yachts. So basically there's no job too big or small in terms of what we're able to wrap. So everything's been going really well and been getting a lot of support from people, and especially people like Hobie and Chris Purnell and Brad and whatnot have been super supportive. And yeah, I've been doing the AC kayaks for them now last year, and then hopefully again this year, and also teamed up with Andrew Eddinghausen for his TV show Escape with ET. So done about 5 or 6 boats with him now, and yeah, mate, everything's going pretty well. So
okay, so if I've got a boat and I want to get it wrapped, what's the process? Have I obviously got to think about what I want and then send through sizes? How's it work?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so say you've got your runabout. Basically, you just come to us and let us know whether or not it's a colour change you're after, or if it's graphic wrap with a fair bit of detail. But whatever it is, at the end of the day, we're happy to work on the design with you. Whatever it is that you're after, we'll make sure we get to it and that you're happy with it before we go to print, and no matter how long that takes. And yeah, the wraps are printed and all that before they come into us, and basically the wrap will take half a day for it to be left with us and installed, and you can come pick it up that afternoon. So yeah, pretty smooth process, and yeah, the transformations that some of these boats have in one day is fairly drastic.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be a new boat, does it? You can wrap your old boat?
No, we actually, we do a lot of second-hand boats. A lot of people, wanting to do boats up, and a lot of people that actually buy and sell boats, funny enough. I didn't realise that was such a thing until I started doing this, but yeah, the wrap is certainly a quick transformation, and yeah, it is a big one, I must say.
Yeah. If I've got my little runabout, my tinny or what have you, what sort of preparation do I have to do before bringing it to you?
Well, we just require that the paint be in good condition. Obviously, the wrap's only as strong as the paint that it's stuck to, so we any flaking paint or whatnot, we'd prefer all that to be done before it comes to us, like get all that off. We preferably don't do the removal of existing graphics from the boat. By doing that, it just slows the process up on our end, and basically your boat won't be done in a day if we start doing that sort of stuff. So, yeah, just look, we're happy to do a bit of light sanding and whatnot. If any rock chips like that, that's fine. We'll knock all them out. But yeah, as long as the main killer, I suppose, is flaking paint. So as long as that's gone, we'll be happy.
Very good. Very good. All right. And one last thing on that before we move off is, mate, what's the contact details for you?
Yeah, thank you. So you can either reach me at info@podymarineWraps.com.au or just jump on the website. My mobile number's there as well. You can have a look at some wraps and some completed jobs that we've done there as well. Facebook, Instagram, Pody Marine Wraps. And I'd just like to say as well, we recently bought X Factor signs from Richard Potter. So anyone that's had their boats done in the past by him, we also have all of Richard's old work. So we'll have all his files and whatnot. If you've currently had, say, your tournament boat done by him, we've got all that. Carpet graphics, anything like that, we can do any of that.
Yeah, very good, very good. So they could rewrap the same, or they could just use those details and update.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Yeah, like I said, if you want something different, then by all means, we'll work with you until you get it how you want it, and it's fine.
Very good, very good. All right. So aside from that, with the AFT series, mate, is there anyone else you want to give a shout out to before we head off?
Yeah, definitely just want a big shout out to the boys, Craig and Warwick, for starting this series. I think what they're doing, I think it's a no-brainer. A Brim series around Sydney, they're never going to go wrong. But yeah, the boys have gone out and done that on their own will, and they're doing a fantastic job, and the rounds are selling out each round now. So yeah, simple format, half days fishing. It's really, really good. So yeah, kudos to them. Yeah, and also recently just come on board with Frogviz Offshore. So yeah, definitely want to give a big shout out to them for seeing some kind of potential in me. So
very cool.
Yeah, looking forward to moving forward with them and hopefully get a few more results. And yeah, so it'll be good.
Very good. All right, mate. That's terrific, mate. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for supporting the show. And mate, I will see you on the weekend at the AFT that's coming up, and I'll see you the next weekend at the Hobie round. So I'll see you soon.
Thanks, man.
Okay, so fishing.com.au, your one-stop brim lure and tackle shop. Pick up the latest tackle, including Muscle Vibes, Cranker Crabs, OSP Bent Minnows, Z-Man Plastics, Eco Gear Lures, Daiwa Rods, Reels and Tackle. Same-day shipping, shop where the world champion, the Australian champion and the current APT champion shops. Fishing.com.au, online or in-store at shop 18/29 Kiora Road, Miranda. Now, I'm going to mention a lure here. So, coming out of the Nomad stable, so Nomad Tackle, we've got the 55mm Squid Trex. So what this is, as the name might suggest, is a little squid-style lure with two little stingers on the back, which, anyway, you're going to hear that it works pretty well. So if you haven't got any of those in your kit, they definitely worked on the big fish for me over the weekend. So maybe jump online, have a look at those, just scroll through the brands, through to Nomad Design, and have a look at the Squid Trex. It's the first one that comes up under that tab. Get a couple of those in your kit, and hopefully you can catch a big one too. Fishing.com.au. Kind of rhymed, hey? Okay, so next up in second place, I have an angler dropping 3 fish measuring 36, 36 and 31.5, giving him a total of 103.5 in second place. I've got Mark Knight. Welcome to the show, mate.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks for having me.
No worries at all, mate. You've done all right the last couple of comps.
Yes, I did all right down at the Basin recently. Finished 5th, I think, down there. 1 fish out of the thing and won the Masters. So I was quite pleased with my results of late.
Yeah, that was very good. You smashed me.
It was a tough bite down there too, but I just happened to find a little patch around the back there that kept sparking up on Saturday, but went a bit quiet when the sun came out on Sunday.
Yeah, okay. Nonetheless, a pretty tidy result. Top 10 in big fields is pretty hard to do now.
Yeah, that's been my best result for 5 years, I think.
Oh, well, there you go. You take it.
Yeah, I will.
All right. So, mate, Woy back on the 14th of May, we had a bit of a chat beforehand. Now, you didn't get a chance to pre-fish. Just out of curiosity, did you fish last year in the Hobie round?
Yes, I did, and I went it was no good at all. I like to fish edges mostly, and it seems that Woy is not the place where you fish edges, especially the time of year we were there last year, because I think it was the middle of May last year from memory, or early May. And this year was a few weeks earlier. So,
yeah.
But even though I found the edges were a bit quiet up there even this time. So I ended up out in the deeper water in the big bay. So
right, okay. Yeah, I was going to say, last year I struggled as well. I had a tough call. We're better this year, so.
Yeah. What did I do? I think I only managed 1-on-1 up there on the Saturday and Sunday. But yeah, they were good fish, but it's not big enough. Keep going.
Fair enough. All right. Well, you turned it around for this competition. How about you give us a bit of a rundown of what you did and how you went about catching your fish?
Yeah, I started up the inside channel, just tossing cranks and plastics around the wharves and around the ferry wharf. Wasn't doing any good. Ended up at the road and the rail bridge, threw a few crabs under that, and it was pretty quiet there. Into the racks for a while, which is like my favourite thing to do. But all I could manage in there was a rather large porcupine or blowfish. It was a bit nasty. So I thought, well, I'll go against what I like to do and head out into the deeper water and throw some vibes. So I put on a blade and we went out in the deep water, and after about 10, 15 minutes, got my first fish. I think we were about 100 metres away and you'd got one just prior to that. And I thought, well, this is all right. I'll hang here for a bit. So I just drifted around there for most of the morning, go backwards and forwards out as the wind blew us in and out. And, managed to get two more good ones, plus a couple of other smaller ones as well. So I was quite happy with that.
Definitely. You got a couple of 36s. Now, what blade were you throwing at them?
I was throwing a VX40 in colour 439, which I think it is, which is one of Mr. Costa from fishing.com.au put me onto. It's one of his favourites. It was taking a fish quite consistently. I tried a couple of other different colours and they didn't seem to like that, but they seemed to go for that one. I was loading it up with a heap of scent too, which I think helped.
Definitely. And what scent do you run?
I run a mixture these days, a little concoction. I put a bit of S Factor, a bit of this and a bit of that, and mix it all up and just dunk the blade in it. It's a concoction of a number of different ones. There's a bit of dirty sauce there, some sack scent and all sorts of things.
There you go.
Smells awful. Smells awful, but the fish seem to like it.
Fair enough. I know that when we were fishing up there, we were quite close at times, and there was times where we were sort of fish for fish. They definitely, I'd get one, you'd get one, and vice versa.
Yeah, it was one of those days. I think they were just moving around a fair bit. The sound would go quiet for a while, and then all the sound would just light up on the bottom, and you get a couple of fish, and then they'd just disappear again. So it was a good day. It was probably the best day I've ever had at Woy actually, because I've fished there a few comps over the years now, and I've not one of my favourite places to fish, I'll say that.
Well, there you go. And what sort of lines and leaders were you running on that particular day?
I'm running J-Braid Grand in 6 and 8. Hang on, probably disappeared again, did I? No, J-Braid Grand in 6 and 8. And leader-wise, I think I'm using Yamamoto. I think it's Yamamoto they call it. 3, 4 or 5 for that which I like because of the thin diameter. If I'm tossing around the racks, I usually use Nitlon DFC in 5 or 6, which I like because it'll take a bit of a pounding.
Definitely. I used to use Nitlon a few years back, and it's quite a good leader.
Yeah, I love it. It's very hard to get these days. But I managed to find a few spools here and there, and I stock up when I find it. So.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Now, just one more thing before we move off the fishing. Do you remember how the fish were taking it? Well, like, were you sort of doing little hops or big rips, or how were you working it, and how do you have a memory of how they were taking it?
Yeah, they would. I had a couple of different bites. Some of them would pick it up on the drop, and you'd just go to give it a little hop, and they'd be there. And others would attack it when I was ripping it up, and there'd just be a bang, 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 and they were on.
Yeah.
It was a couple of different bites. One of the 36s I thought was a lot bigger than he was, because he really gave it some stick. So, but yeah, they were good. It's a variety of different ways, but that lure really worked well for me that day.
Definitely. The 439 colour in the Eco Gear was a famous lure like 10 years ago. We were all kind of running it. So.
Oh, well, yeah. Sometimes everything old is new again, mate.
Exactly.
Sometimes the old ways are better.
Exactly. Well, mate, with that lure, like, it's a really good colour for whatever reason. Now, as we record this, we're a couple of days out from the Georges River, which will be run and done by the time this comes out. What are you're a local. How do you reckon it's going to fish?
I'm hoping that with the rain we've had recently, the water's a really good colour. Now it's cleared up nicely. Hopefully there should be some fish around the bridges. Cogra Bay, possibly. I'm not sure about the racks. The racks haven't fished well this year, as well, for yourself. They've been pretty quiet out there. But yeah, I'm hoping that Cogra Bay should be the place I'll be fishing, I think. And maybe back up the reef and the mouth of Oatley Bay. There's a little reef just at the mouth of Oatley Bay that should be all right as well. If we hadn't had any rain, like we had in the last couple of weeks, I'd probably go upstream and maybe up a couple of places up the Wanney. But no, I think I'll be coming downstream because we're going with the tide on launch time and coming back with the tide in the afternoon. So.
Yeah, always easier.
Yeah, especially if we're not punching into a strong wind, which it doesn't look like we're going to have. So.
Yeah, no, it looks like it'd be good. And after fishing, I fished Sydney Harbour, as did you on the weekend. I got a couple, I think I got maybe 3 or 4 fish on edges, which will be interesting to see whether we do get some sort of edge bite in the Georges, given, they're not too far away.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I think I'll be having my favourite shallow crank on for in Cogra Bay, which is the Jackal Chubby in the fishing.com.au colour, which is by far my favourite colour. It's my go-to if things are quiet. Yeah, I love that thing. So I'll be using that, possibly a Combat Pro Lure S36 and the Watermelon in the S36, and maybe the odd Hurricane Fat Boy as well.
Very nice.
About 37.
About 37.
Yeah. In the ultraviolet prawn, or I forget what the brown one is. There is a little brown, tanny coloured one with the black stripes. I can't remember what they call that colour.
All right. I reckon that's a pretty good rundown of the fishing. What did you get to take home? Do you remember what you got to take home for second place?
I think it was about $450, I think, which was not a bad. I think it was that much. I can't remember. I'd have to have a look. It was a few $100. So I was very happy with it anyway.
Nice day out.
For a one-day session, it was quite good.
Very good. And mate, one more thing before we head off. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
Well, I'd just like to say thanks to my better half, Sharon, who encourages me to get out there all the time, and Adam at fishing.com for his sage advice at times when I'm struggling.
Yep.
And some of the guys I've fished with over the years who have moved on or not with us anymore, who have helped me out in lots of different ways with advice and showing me things that, even though I've been fishing since I was about 3 years old, when my grandfather first taught me, but this thing, caper with the lure, broom fishing for lures and with lures and stuff is a big learning curve when you first start doing it. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, so that was good. Yeah.
Fair enough, mate.
Jimmy up at HWS for looking after me, and Mickey Coggins down at Totally Immersed as well for helping me out when I've got a busted set of fins.
That's really good. Well, mate, I'll see you on the weekend. Thanks for coming on, and congratulations on your good form of recent times.
Thanks, Andrew. Much appreciated. And see you out on the water on the weekend somewhere.
Don't worry. See you soon.
Cheers, mate. Bye.
All right. If you're in the market for a new fishing kayak or looking to make some upgrades to your existing kayaks or possibly looking at fishing kayak fishing tournaments, then HWS is the place to go. They have a full range of Hobie kayaks, stock the latest kayak accessories, and are really dialed in when it comes to the best kayak fishing for the casual fisher and the tournament angler. hws.com.au, online or in store at shop 3/638 Pacific Highway, Belmont. Now, James offers free delivery on Hobie kayaks all across Greater Sydney, Central Coast and Hunter. All right, so one thing that I haven't spoken before about is the Hobie Mirage Revolution. So they come in at a 13 and an 11, but I'm particularly talking about the 13. If you've got the mind that you might like to travel a bit longer distances, go a little bit faster, then this is probably the kayak for you. It still offers all the main features of the Hobie kayaks. You've got the pedals, you've got the comfortable seat and the rudder and all that sort of stuff. But just being a little bit more slimline, you will be able to travel distances just a little bit better. And I think I've seen Chris Hickson in one, I've seen James and a few guys throughout the year that want to utilize the speed and get off the mark a bit quicker and what have you. So definitely go and have a look at one of those. Now, if you want to test drive one of those, get in touch with James. I'm sure he'll put you on the water. And if for 11, so the 13 is for the, let's just say more normal people. For the smaller people and the kids, the 11 is a great one as well. Just being a little bit lighter, but a little bit easier to move around. Definitely worth having a look. So jump online, hws.com.au.
Hello, all you listeners, and welcome back. And this is Carl Jubahu here. I'm the guest interviewer, and I am speaking to none other than Andrew Deeth, who's our normal host, but he was the number one angler on the day. So, of course, he stormed home with 3 fish, total bag length of 113.5 centimetres, took home $650, and he also took out the big brim, which was a 43.5 centimetre beast. And for that, he got a $100 HWS Beast voucher. I think that's about right. So he was the man himself, Andrew Deeth. How are you, Andrew?
I'm good, Carl. How are you? Thanks for coming on to have a talk to me.
No worries, buddy. And now you can. You didn't give me any of the secrets because I know there was another Woy Woy comp coming up, but we shall wait and see.
Fair enough.
So now that the Hobie Woy Woy is run, I was hoping you could give us a few tips on how you managed to take out this event up there in sunny Woy Woy.
Fair enough.
Did you have a pre-fish?
I did. Well, with the Hobie comp coming up, I intended to use as much time as I could to pre-fish for that event as well as fish the AFT, with the difference being the AFT, we had a boundary limit of the Rip Bridge or just before the Rip Bridge, and the Hobie comp we didn't. So I actually decided that I was going to go down and fish around the Rip Bridge and south of that just to get a feel for what was going on and sort of see what would happen on the Sunday. So yeah, I headed out, reasonably early on the Saturday morning, and I was able to get a couple just local to the Rip Bridge, just using chubbies in sort of 1.5 meters to 2 meters of water.
Yeah, so just fishing the edges.
Yeah, but under the bridge or around the bridge where it kind of rips pretty hard.
And obviously because the tides were similar to what they were going to be the next day. But did that help you out for the Hobie comp?
Well, not so much, because after fishing that bridge, I kind of moved down to the oyster racks down there, and I found some fish in the shallows. Not lots, but I did get a couple of good ones in like a foot of water over boulders and that sort of stuff. So that made me think, okay, I'll get them in the shallows. So while it was a reasonably successful pre-fish, it, as you'll hear in the next part, it kind of led me a little bit astray for the comp day.
Yeah, I guess so. Because comp day, you obviously couldn't go down to those areas. Did you fish up in the main area at all, up around near Gosford at all on the pre-fish, or did you stick down south?
No, I stayed down and I did my pre-fish and I drew my conclusion from that I would get them in the shallows.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, I'll fish the oyster racks up the other side of the islands.
And you fished Woy Woy a few times as well, so you do know the area.
Yeah.
Which is always handy. So that was your pre-fish done and dusted. You sort of worked out a plan. You think you'll get them in the shallow.
Mm-hmm.
What was your plan on day one?
Okay, so for comp day, I figured I'd paddle up towards the main lake. I would fish the first set of oyster racks on the left as you go upriver. And Corey Lean ducked into there, I think, and proceeded to fish. And I thought I'll give him a bit of space. And then with the weed and all the stuff that was in that area, I decided to move on. I had a few casts with no fish and just kept going. I continued on to the oyster racks, to the main body of the oyster racks, where I fished for about an hour and a half without anything. I fished shallows, I fished cranks, I fished surface.
Did you get any hits at all?
No.
No, nothing.
Not in that first period. Then in the middle of those racks is the deeper section. And I thought, I'm going to put a baby vibe on and throw around the bases of the racks. It was kind of dropped into maybe 1.5 meters, 2 meters. And I was able to catch, my first fish was, I think, 25 centimeters on a baby vibe.
Yep.
And shortly after a 21. So being in an AFT round where it's catch, photo, release, you can record these smaller fish.
Yeah, it's always a good idea.
Yeah, exactly.
To do that. I think on that day, because I fished the tournament as well, didn't do as well as you. I only managed 6th place, I think. My first fish was, I think, 17 centimetres. So I wasn't going to measure it, and I thought I'd better. And then 2 hours later, it was still the only fish I caught.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's like with those small fish, you don't know at the end of the day. You might get 2 40s and you need that 17 centimetre or 20 centimetre one to get you in the running.
Could make the difference.
Exactly. And those fish, they measured 21. That was at 7:58. 'Cause the good thing is I've got photos so I can tell exactly when it was. And 7:47 was the first fish. It was actually 25, or would have gone 25 and a half.
And that was on a baby vibe?
On a baby vibe, yeah. Yeah, good old trusty baby vibe.
And what colour baby vibe was it? The black?
The black one. Yeah,
Yep.
the black UV one.
Yep.
Yeah, still really good. Then, so that was sort of around that 8 o'clock mark was the last fish I caught there. Then I decided, all right, if I'm going to go to the deep, I need to make a move or I'm going to miss out time-wise.
Were there other anglers in the area where you were fishing?
Yeah, I think there was a few anglers in the racks. I know Corey fished down in the main part, that first rack's on the left, and I know he got a good fish early, like a 37 tip or something like that. But yeah, I don't know that anyone was really getting fish there, to be honest.
So you just thought, okay, they're not firing in the shallows. I'll move out to the deep. Did you have a plan of attack? Did you think you'll go fish like the main drop-off as it runs into the basin, or did you have some marks out deeper that you'd previously fished?
Yeah, no, I didn't have any marks. I've got a new sounder and I haven't transferred anything onto it. I just had a thought, like the wind was blowing probably northwest. I figured I'd just paddle out into the middle part of the lake and just do a long drift.
Yeah.
I bumped into Mark Knight, who ended up second, and he kind of said, I think there's good spots around here to the right. So I kind of leaned a little bit more towards that Saratoga area.
Yeah.
And that's where we started fishing, in that 5 to 6 meters, I think it was.
And you were both just drifting along close to each other, I suppose?
Yeah, at times. A couple of times we were a couple of 100 meters apart. And then there was times where we were a cast different distance apart.
So you'd hook up, he'd drop in. He'd hook up, you'd drop in.
That's it. That's it. Give each other a one finger wave and keep going. So I decided randomly to put a Squid Trex on. So I'd never thrown it, pulled it out of the packet. So a Squid Trex is a Nomad lure, which is basically a little squid, 55 millimeters.
I've never fished those. I've seen them, but I've never fished them before. But they do look very interesting. So they are sort of like a soft sort of vibe, aren't they, I guess?
Yeah. 100%. They're definitely a soft vibe. They have a little bit more subtle vibe than, say, a metal vibe.
Yep.
But they look very good. Like they look like a squid in the water.
All right. And what colour did you have? Was there only one colour that you had? Did you try a few different ones?
No, I only used one. It's kind of a reddy brown colour, mostly clear with a little bit of reddy brown on the bottom of it. I couldn't tell you exactly which one it is apart from that.
Yeah. And they have assist hooks with them, I think, don't they?
Yeah, they come with assist hooks on the back and 2 tow points. So you can you can tow it from the nose or the back of the head and in the middle. And I chose the middle to get a vibe action.
Yeah. All right then. So you start fishing the deep, and did the fish start coming fairly quickly once you'd started on your drift?
Yeah. I think I actually fished a couple of lures before that. But once I put the Squid Trex on, First cast, I got a tailor around that sort of 50 centimetre mark. Very first cast. I'm like, okay, it's interesting. Second cast, I got a 32 and a half centimetre brim, which was about 10 to 9.
Oh.
So 2 casts, 2 fish.
Yeah. And you're going, these are all right.
Yeah, I'm going, okay, well, this is different. Third cast, so 856 was a 43 and a half centimetre brim.
Wow.
So I'm thinking, this is good. This is a good start.
And are they just smashing those, or is it a subtle, they just grab it? I mean, and how were you fishing this?
Okay.
The squid tricks.
With these first few fish, it was just on the drop. I would just cast it out, get to the bottom and load up. So it was obviously, I think the fish in the area on the day were moving around in schools. They weren't stationary. And I think I just came in amongst them. So yeah, so within 10 minutes, I'd caught a 50 centimetre tailor, a 32 or so centimetre brim, and then a kicker. It went 43 and a half, which I think if I had taken a better photo, it might have even been a fraction bigger.
But that's, you must have been going, wow, I think I might stay in this area a little bit longer.
That's it. I go, oh, you catch a 43 and a half. There's about 50 in the comp, which is a bit less than what we normally fish. Like you're kind of in the running with those sorts of fish.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I think my biggest on the day was a 38, I think. And I was thinking, well, potentially this could be up there for big brim. I thought you'd probably need at least 40 to get it, but you knocked it out.
You never know. Yeah, you don't know though. A 30, 38, 39 could definitely take big brim on any given day.
Yeah, so that's good. So you get the 43 and a half and you just kept following that drift, or did you decide to stay in that area?
Oh, I think we kept, the wind kind of backed off and we stopped drifting a little bit. And then it was an hour till the next fish. So it kind of went 8:56 and then 10:04 was the next brim, which went 34 and a half.
Yeah.
So solid fish, upgrade. I've got rid of the 25.
And could you see them on your sounder?
Yep. Yeah, you could see fish on the sounder. And there was bait and all sorts of stuff. There was also tailor. And there was a few times where I threw in behind the tailor to catch fish, which seemed to work.
Catch fish, yeah. Any jewfish at all? Because you often find them together up there.
No, not in that comp. No.
No, I have done previously. I didn't get any either. And I was fishing in the deep as well. I was up in Woy Woy Bay. Same thing. You could see fish mooching around on the sounder. Only chopper tailor for me up there.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So, and was there a bite window?
Well, it seemed to taper off. I got just because I got photos. I got another reasonable one, like a 32 at 10:24, and then another 35. I think it was at 10:39. I can't really see from the photo. 35 and a half, and I think that was the last. Oh no, I got another 35. So that was the last of the upgrades. But I did catch other fish. There was other brim in the mix, but the trick was you had to keep moving around. You couldn't sit still. Yeah,
so I had to just keep searching out for them.
Yeah, I'd go and visit Mark and I'd catch one, he'd catch one, and then he'd catch one, I'd catch one. So
it sounded like, I think you got probably 3 or 4 fish in about that 35 centimetres. So even without the 43.5, if you total them up, you still would have taken it out. So really you were just rubbing everybody's nose in it, sounds like.
Oh, 100%. Well, not really. I actually, if I took the big brim off and I had a look at the photos I took, I think Mark would have had me by 10 millimetres.
Oh, close.
Or thereabouts. Yeah. So it would have been very, very close.
Was Mark near you when you got the big fish?
He was close enough, I think. Yeah.
Because that would have been even sweeter, just to land something.
Yeah, that's it. Look at this. So, no, it was good. And I did think, like when I hooked it, I was like, oh, please be a brim, because it went for a big run. And I only had light drag on light hooks. And yeah, it was one of the fish that when it came up, you kind of get a bit shaky and go, oh, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Make sure you take the right photo, this, that, the other. So
yeah.
And it's something that I've learnt in the comps this year. You really got to take your time with the photos. It makes a massive difference.
Oh, it certainly does. And with the AFT tournaments, because they round up as well. So if you're 35.6, that would round up to a 36 centimetre fish. So yeah, you really do have to get the angles right, make sure the nose is up against the board. So it's excellent. Now, What sort of a line were you using?
On that
light leader?
Yeah, not super light. I was running 6 because of my 6 pound leader because I'd planned on fishing the racks.
Yep.
I had the long rods, the Messiah Custom, so the 9-foot one, I think. And I'd a bit heavier. Normally I'd fish the deeper water with 4 pound, but on the day it was 6.
6, yeah. So and it seemed to work out for you all right, so which was good. And the braid, what braid are you running?
Using the Goosen 0.4, I think it's a hard type, so 0.4 PE.
Yep.
And I use that on the long rods because, they just cast so far.
Yeah.
So.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
And your reel, and this was on the Messiah rod?
Yeah, on the Messiah. Yeah, I think it was the 9-foot one, so the shorter one of the two. And then the reel was a 2000 Chaldeer, I think. It was a Daiwa in any case. So.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
So did all your fish come on the squid tracks?
Yeah. All the fish that I weighed in, after I changed to that, I didn't change lures, I didn't change hooks or anything.
Yeah, you wouldn't change the winning pattern, so.
No, I was just searching for the next big one, which didn't arrive on the day, but it was still enough.
Did you drop any? Did you hook any that you thought, that might have been a bit of an upgrade there?
Yeah, not that I remember. The good thing about stingers is usually if you get them in and you're not trying to pull them out of structure, most of the time you're going to land the fish.
You can land them, yeah. And that's the beauty fishing up there in the deep. You can let them run. They're not going to bust you off in any reefs or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, that's excellent. Now, do you have anybody that you would like to thank, of course?
Definitely. All right, first up, we'll start with the guy.
Me? For staying up so late and interviewing you, of course. You're welcome. You're welcome.
I was going to save you to last, but thank you, Carl.
You can mention me twice. There you go.
Okay. All right. We'll come back to you again. Yeah, of course. The guys from Action Fishing Tournaments for putting the tournaments on. It's a great little series that's running around Sydney. Definitely a nice way to get into competitions if people would like to. They might be a bit nervous about the Hobies or the ABT. This is a nice way to get in, do one-day comps. They're off the water early so people can get home to their family, so they get the best of both worlds there.
Yeah, and the beauty of the CPR, of course, is you don't need a live well. A lot of us take live wells with us because we use them as carrying our rods, but it means you don't have to outlay quite a bit of money to try the tournament scene. And I think most people, once they get into it, see how much fun they are, they can convert over.
Exactly. And look, for anyone that's out there, you don't need a Hobie to come and compete or a native. You can have a paddle yak. You just need a proper brag mat, one that's been sanctioned by the guys, and off you go. So you can have a paddle yak if that's what you've got, $60 and off you go.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of people do see the PAs. A lot of people have PAs now, but you don't need to have those big kayaks. I mean, I'm getting around on a Lynx now for all my tournaments. Love it. And you see people in all different sizes out there. So, yeah,
absolutely.
Just jump in and have a go for sure.
Exactly. And look, and other people, obviously fishing.com.au. So I went and saw Adam before the comp because I'd talked to some guys about the squid treks on the podcast and I went, all right, I better go and grab some of those. So I've got some. And as usual, Adam had them in stock, all sitting behind the counter and was obviously happy to part with a few of those.
Yeah. And of course, the Baby Vibe.
Yeah. Of course, the Baby Vibe, it's done wonders for me over the last few years now. It's been quite a few years that we've been throwing those little guys. So yeah, and even just being able to go duck up there and grab, braid and whatever else I need at the drop of a hat, and he's pretty much always got what I'm after in stock or something that's close enough.
And for those online orders, I know Adam will get them out. You'll probably have them even the next day. He gets them out so quick. Put the order in and they're out the door almost straight away. Exactly. And lastly, look, while Hunter Water Sports does sponsor the podcast, Totally Immersed Water Sports in Huskerson, they actually look after my personal gear, if they've done for many, many years. They've been great in making sure that my kayaks are up to date. I'm in the current Hobie 360 kayak, which is awesome. It's just a step above. Yeah, they certainly look after my gear, and I'm proud to be part of their team. Excellent. So I think that pretty much covers pretty much all of it, I think. Yeah, show off. Like I said, you took home some nice money at the end of the day. I just missed out. I was so close to getting some cash, but I don't mind donating money to you every now and then. So it's good.
That's all right. You've taken a fair share of mine over the years. It swings and roundabouts.
No, that's great. Thanks, Andrew. Good on you. Well done, buddy. And we'll look forward to seeing you at the Georges River Round that's coming up, or well, by the time this comes out, might have been run a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks. Thank you.
Thanks, Andrew. Bye, buddy.
Okay, so there you have it, everybody. Our top 3 now. I didn't mention Podium Marine Wraps because obviously we had Corey on the show and he kind of went into and tell us about what he is about and what he does. So definitely, if you're in the market for something like that, it's worth contacting him and just see what happens. He can get a design done for you. Yeah, see what you think. Boats, kayaks, yachts, whatever you want. All right. In other news, yeah, thanks to all the people who have jumped on and liked and sort of followed the Instagram. I really appreciate that. Same with YouTube. There's been a couple more there. And, as we build into hopefully something much bigger and better, that's going to become more and more important. So I appreciate you just jumping on for those who can. Apart from that, I think that's all we've got for the show for this week. I look forward to speaking to you next week and have a great week, and I'll talk to you then.
Thanks for listening. Hopefully you were informed, inspired and entertained. If you were able to learn something or just enjoyed listening, please consider subscribing and rate us on your favourite podcasting platform.